In the news this week, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull defends the federal government's cashless welfare card trial.
Plus, what's in store for us? Speculation mounting over possible funding cuts from state budget.
And on Western Perspective, blast from the past, is nuclear power a viable option for Australia?
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has defended the rollout of the federal government's cashless welfare card during his address at the Liberal Party conference. He argued the scheme can ensure money will be spent on living necessities instead of drugs, alcohol and gambling. Andrew Fuster begins our coverage.
With critics running hot against the new cashless dole card scheme, the Prime Minister is not afraid to state his case for change by saying the policy was having positive impacts to rural communities.
It's seen a massive reduction in alcohol abuse, in drug abuse, in domestic violence, in violence generally. Really huge improvement.
The cashless welfare card has 80% of the recipient's welfare loaded onto it and can only be used at limited locations and has been criticised for limiting rights. Mr Turnbull spoke to the conference, praising the government's achievements and its ability to pass legislation through the Senate. He also criticised the opposition and its leader Bill Shorten for being the most left-wing Labor Party in recent history. Mr Turnbull also addressed WA's GST issue, saying his government will work towards a reform that will place a floor on the GST levels.
Only the Coalition has a plan to set a GST floor in the future in a way that is fair and will deliver a durable solution that addresses our national economic interest.
WA Liberal leader Mike Nahan addressed Mr Turnbull's GST announcement, saying he is happy with the timeframe the government has set for reform. Andrew Fuster, WAMN News.
The state budget is due to be handed down this coming week, and many people are concerned about funding cuts due to our state's record debt. Reporter Elise Simic has more on this. Elise, can you tell us what we can expect to see in the budget?
Well, Danielle, State Treasurer Ben Wyatt has remained tight-lipped about the budget. However, he has provided some insight on the issues young people are concerned about, including mental health services and education.
It's a budget that responds to the fact that we're now operating significant deficits. We have gone through and found deliberately look to find space for our election priorities, which includes in the mental health space.
However, many people are still concerned that these youth services are not being adequately funded at the moment, and if there are any budget cuts, these will cost us in the future.
Well, what we know for a fact is that funding, particularly around mental health and alcohol and other drug services, is woefully inadequate. Without a doubt, is that we need to have increased funding in the areas of mental health and alcohol and other drug services. And we also know that if we don't do that investment now, we're going to be paying for it in the future.
We'll have a breakdown of the budget and what it all means once it's been handed down in Parliament next week. Back to you, Ivan.
Elise Dimich reporting. Thank you very much, Elise. Qantas has announced it will be discounting return flights to Perth for residents of Broome, Kalgoorlie, Karratha, Purwokerto, Port Hedland and Newman. These discounts will be between 10 to 30% and limited to 4 flights per person per year in the economic class. Both WA nationals and the government says a lot more needs to be done.
The heat is well and truly on airport operators across the states to respond to Qantas's request and provide cheaper airfares.
It's very hard if you've come down to Perth for maybe university or something and flying back up there, it's cost you more to fly to Broome than it does to fly to Bali.
Construction of the King Square Fremantle Renewal Project began this week, and a new commercial office and retail space, plus a new administration and civic centre is set to be opened by the end of 2019. The $270 million project is expected to create more than 1,100 full-time jobs, and the government said more than 2,000 people will be working in King Square upon completion.
It's actually about transforming the heart of Fremantle and actually turning Fremantle back into a vibrant civics, giving a vibrant civic heart.
We will, rather than seeing a tired old, to be frank, unsafe area, reactivated to bring people in.
Greenwood is set to become a new suburb for sustainable housing projects as developers are building innovative homes. The development has attracted the government's attention, with Housing Minister Peter Tinley touring the site this week. Some of the affordable homes will be selling at a price point of $330,000, with easy access to the city and community hubs.
For a dwelling in an established suburb like this, this close to the city at that price point, that's what working families are really looking for.
The ability of people that have lived in this area for 20, 30, 40 years, this is their community, that's where they've built their lives, for them to be able to move into a downsized place but still maintain their community connections, it's really important.
Floods in Texas are beginning to drop as the death toll rises to at least 30 people. There are at least 5 children among the casualties. Meanwhile, another crisis is emerging, with reports saying the Arkema chemical plant has exploded due to rising temperature in the facility. Authorities have evacuated residents in the surrounding areas earlier this week. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that Korean Peninsula is at the verge of conflict unless both sides back down from intimidation. Mr. Putin released his views on the matter, saying that dialogue without precondition is the only way to resolve tensions. He also called on all parties to sign up to a mediation program proposed by China and Russia.
And finally this week, the Wanneroo Business Expo has successfully attracted many small businesses in Perth to promote themselves as the current tough economic climate grips Western Australia. Despite the economy downturn, the Expo is packed with attendance as local mayor also attended the site to show support.
In the start of, particularly for new businesses, we got to get out there and take any opportunity for exposure that we can. So this is a massive networking opportunity and collaboration opportunity.
Enthusiasm, the energy, there's opportunity for small businesses to promote their business, all interacting, great conduits into one another, something that's so neat.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. You can check out the latest news on our website and Facebook. Good evening.
Until next Sunday at 5:30, good night.